Welcome back to Real Community Talks, where we meet with micro-level influencers doing macro-level things. I'm your host, Matt DeSilva. This guy started ruined my intro. I'm your host, Matt DeSilva, and on today's episode, we have Mr. Malton himself, the man whose blue sign you're seeing everywhere for English School Trustee for Ward 5.
Public Board.
English Public School Board for Trustee for Ward 5. But yeah, my good friend Ryan Gurcharn on the show. Ryan, thanks for being here today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So for those two waste people that don't know who you are, and I don't know why they wouldn't, because you're just like involved in every single committee in Malton.
You're not two ways.
Ryan is currently working for Andrea Horvath in Leader's Office for the official opposition in Ontario. This is going to be long, so you guys better, hold on. Was a youth worker and communications coordinator for Malton Neighbourhood Services. Was a community developer for the city of Mississauga and was one of the 2017 Civic Award recipients. Currently sits on 6 Ward 5 school councils. Graduated from York U with a double major in English and politics. That's just like two completely different things. The founder and publisher of the Malton Mirror and Dixie Discovery. And he's also an associate editor for the papers Tough Times and Ethnic Umbrella. And among many other community boards and committees, he sat on Peel Youth Violence Prevention Network, Peel Committee Against Women's Abuse, Malton Black Development Association, Malton BIA's Canada Day Committee, Malton Community Building Project, Malton Community Festival, Peel Poverty Action Group, Malton Neighbourhood Services, Sexual Assault Rape Crisis Center Peel, UCAN Youth Services, Mississauga Fruit Tree, Friends of the Mississauga Library Services, and Wellfort Community Health Services. And lastly, he's one of the most passionate community advocates I've met. So did I miss anything?
A ton. No. That was. I think you made some stuff up there too.
Oh, no. If you guys want to check out everything he's doing, go on his website. What's the website for them?
It is trusteeryan.ca.
Yeah, in case I missed anything, check it out there. So with that, why don't we kind of go into your origin story? So for the people that don't know like your background, who is Ryan Gurcharn and where are you from?
Born and raised right here in Malton. I went to Ridgewood, Lancaster, then Lincoln. The first year it became Lincoln. Val Victorian in 2004. And I was on stage with the current trustee right now, Rick Williams. I remember standing there giving my speech, and I was like, why don't we have AC? And because on the 3rd floor at Lincoln, it's, my God.
It's horrible.
And I can't imagine now with climate change, and we're having a lot more hotter days. And
True.
Icky, muggy days. We sit down. And like, I've been advocating since then.
I remember when actually I think it was in grade 12, and like when a guest speaker comes in and you just want to be like that funny guy who makes fun of them. I remember you came in and you were just like, when I say Malton, you say like brah, brah, or something like that.
I did not do that.
You did do that, and I was just
on purpose.
And it's so funny because I was sitting there and I was like with my friends, and I'm just like, and so like no one was saying it, and I was the only one who was like brah, brah. And then I'm like, it's funny how I actually came to know you, and actually you helped me so much in where I am. So it's pretty surreal now that we're sitting here.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think you came like you actually did a lot of speaking engagements after you graduated from Lincoln, working at M&S and stuff like that. So actually, since we were actually both valedictorians for Lincoln, you were in 2004, I was 2011.
We're a group here.
Yes. What's one, now that you've lived life a little after high school, what's one word of advice you would have given to your graduating class now that you've experienced kind of like the reality of things? So like, I want to say mine and then you say yours. So what would you tell your graduating class now?
Oh, you said you want to say yours and then you say mine?
No, you say yours and then I'll say mine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was a little confused. Yeah. Okay. No, if I had to tell them right now, knowing what happened, it would be to really get involved civically. Get involved. Know who your councillors, your mayors, your MPPs are. Understand the policies that are being put in place because they affect you. You think they're up in the sky and they're, like, oh, this doesn't affect me. But like, there's a lot of bills. There's a lot of things that are happening that affect your day-to-day life.
True.
And you need to know what's going on. That way, like, excuse me. Like, for example, right now, like, there's a bill being repealed in the House, and it's like going to affect a lot of labor issues. Like right now, it was up until this. So right now, it is illegal to make wearing high heels mandatory.
Really?
Yeah. So in Ontario. right?
I mean, that's an obvious, but I mean,
that
like,
was put into place by the former government.
yeah.
Right now, they're discussing, and perhaps when this airs, it will probably pass because the current government is a majority in Ontario.
Yeah.
And they'll pass the bill, and it will, now that is going to be gone. So now employers could make wearing high heels mandatory.
Wow. That's crazy.
They take away a week of like extra vacation time or for domestic abuse survivors.
Yeah.
They used to get time off with pay. Now that's going to be repealed. So like, I mean, those are things that could affect you on a daily basis. I mean, I don't know how often you wear high heels.
Yeah.
But
I've actually seen videos where like you're actually damaging your foot the way you're walking. Like your foot is like arched in a terrible way though. It's horrible.
No, I know. Well, I mean, that's what happens when you have certain people in control of the fashion, and we're in a society.
It's really sexist. I
patriarchy.
mean, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to put the P word out there, but it's.
Yeah. I mean, like, so before I get into mine, kind of, you talked about something interesting about civic engagement, and like I was at this this conference. It had like some of the top youth leaders in Saga. I think it was kind of called Mobilizing 22.
And of course you'd be there.
Yeah, of course I'd be there. Yeah, of course. So I went there, and a lot of people were, talking about this and that. There was a few profs, the topic of civic engagement came up, and this one guy that was sitting at our table, like I don't know, now that I'm growing up, I'm kind of becoming more of like a radical because I'm saying things that the masses won't say. Because not just like in a bad way, but it's also because we've been conditioned to believe and kind of team this, team that because of tradition, right? Yeah. But this guy went up and said, he's like, well, why should kids go vote? Like, if we're not, or like, why should kids be even involved in politics until they're 18? Because they don't have the right to vote, and like, no one's gonna listen to us. Yep. And then someone was saying like, actually, youth have one of the biggest powers to mobilize, like, who's gonna be elected, because they're the next generation. And also, like, if a youth goes to their counselor and says, we need this done, like a lot of politicians and like they want to be behind young people because that's the next people who are coming up. But then like I got what he was saying though too, and he's like, it's that whole mentality like, well, even if I vote, it's not going to make a difference. But then when you count up all those people who say, even if I don't vote, that's a lot of people too, right? I mean, if that were the case, we'd probably have a different government right now. It's true. Yeah. So what would you say to the youth that's like, I'm not 18 yet, why should I even care about politics? I got involved in politics at my local counselor, I believe at the time was Eve Adams. Put that name out there. Yeah. When I was in grade 10 in politics class, right? That's when things really, I started paying attention. And I don't regret it because I got reference letters out of that. I got the taste of like what actual democracy looks like. Or to strive for us to be a democratic society and having people's voice in there and a part of policy and making things happen. So because I was involved in my local counselor's campaign, before I was 18, right? Grade 10, I wasn't that old. It really helps orient you and prepare you. So before 18 comes, you're ready to, even if you can't vote at 18, which I don't know if I totally agree with, because I mean, we trust you to drive, but not to vote. It's true. I mean, and we're going to make plans for you, but you can't get involved and have your voice. True. Right? It's weird. Yeah. But having said that, there are other ways you can influence policies. There's the mayor's, when I was growing up, I don't know if it was around your time, there was the Mayor's Youth Advisory Committee. Yes, there was, yeah. So I think they have a youth council now for Mississauga. Yeah. Those are ways to advise the mayor on policies. So you come up with resolutions and policies and things that will make your life better in your community. Right? Yeah. And you let the mayor know. And those are big advocacy groups. And learning to advocate, I think, is a huge skill and something you need to know, because the system sucks. Yeah. In terms of like our healthcare system or education system, there's a lot of holes. There's a lot of gaps. And like, for example, somebody with a child in special need right now. Yeah. There's, I would say that Peel doesn't really have, I mean, we strive for it to the Peel district. So we strive for having strong supports and stuff like that. But there are gaps, and you need to advocate for yourself. And if you don't learn those skills at early age, the system's going to walk all over you.
right?
True.
And that's part of the reason why you get involved early. You learn how to advocate for yourself, stand up for yourself against the system, how to work the system.
Yeah.
And the only way the system changes is if you're working from within.
Yeah, true. I even seen, I think recently, students can actually run to be a representative at the school board as well. So
Yeah, so we do have the appeal board. I think it's mandatory. I'm not even sure, because I know Toronto has it too. It's student counselors, student trustees. So in Peel we have two, one for the northern part of Peel and one for the southern part of Peel. And I don't know if a lot of people know about this, but especially at Lincoln, like you could run, you could represent a whole bunch of schools in the southern area, and you get to learn to see, and I think it's important to see how schools like Lincoln function versus those in the other side of Mississauga.
True.
Right? And compare and say, hey, maybe we need to change a few things, or things aren't always fair, like what's happening with the other schools versus the resources we're getting at Lincoln.
True. So, speaking of community and Malton and us both being from here, there was this article in Mississauga News, I think you even mentioned it, and it was called A World of Hurt, and it described Malton as being Mississauga's wasteland.
Louis Rosella.
Yes. Yeah,
I
actually wasn't going to drop names, but I felt like it, and till this day, it fuels me to play a part in rewriting that negative stigma in this community. So for the non-Malton resident, or even the Malton resident, as someone who've lived here and worked here for 30 plus years, talk about the good that's actually happening in this ward and why Malton is a great place to live.
Oh, yeah, no, Louis is absolutely right. You're
horrible.
It's the worst place ever. No. Oh, my God, that infuriated me when that came out. And that was one of the reasons I was like, I was putting my advocacy skills to work. And I started the Malton Mirror. It was the newspaper I started to combat the whole. Because anytime Malton is covered, like even just recently that happened at Darcel and Brandon Gate and Goreway. There was a shooting that happened, but you read about it in the newspaper. All the coverage was Malton. It was in Malton, right? You read about it, a shooting that happened like at Acorn or somewhere else that in Mississauga or anything that's a negative. It says Mississauga. Yeah. Right. And we're always singled out. So Malton had this reputation of like, murders or like bank robberies or like, and it's always, they throw the name Malton out there. Like it's
like Mississauga's Compton, right? Or something.
And it's like, no, we're Mississauga. If you're going to talk about us, talk about us being Mississauga. So there's a shooting in Mississauga, not Malton. It's Mississauga. And that starts to reshape how, adds to reshaping what Malton is as an identity. But the reason I started a newspaper was because I wanted to reshape and define, to show that Malton was more than what the media was covering. And I'm talking specifically about the Metroland right now. So I had in that paper, I had like a section of it that was dedicated to the schools, and the schools like Ridgewood had a section, Lincoln had a section, and they used it as almost like a school newspaper.
That's awesome.
So they could put forward news that were happening, athletes that were doing amazing, like Ascension had some really good athletes that were coming out of there. Not that Lincoln didn't, we did too. But the schools had great fairs, awards. Someone like we had a principal in Malton winning the Ontario, the Canada's Principal Award?
Was that Donna Addison?
Oh, you know her.
Yeah.
Yeah, Miss Addison. But those are stuff that needs to be highlighted. We have amazing talent here. I mean, even Dawn doesn't like live in Malton, but she's worked here forever, and and we have a lot of talented people who give into Malton, right? Yeah. Like Helen Burrows has been around forever.
Shout out to Helen Burrows.
She's like the unofficial mayor of Malton.
It's true.
And she's also endorsing me, by the way.
Then you need to vote for him.
No, but Rick Williams, our current trustee, he's been the trustee since like I said, forever. Since I was there. I want to say 20, 26 years.
Wow.
Who knows? Definitely more than 2 years. And he's done a lot for our schools. They make the administration more representative of the students and the population in Malton. And that's important, because then you have students like us who go to school or and they see like a principal, they see the administration people, vice principal, and they're like, oh my God, that person looks like me. There's a possibility that I could be that. I see myself in that person, right?
Yeah.
And it gives you something to aspire to hope for, to achieve, to drive, right?
Yeah.
I think Lincoln, the first principal was Mr. Hudson. I don't know. You wouldn't know. It was the first, I think, the black principal we've had.
Yeah, yeah.
And it really helped. I saw on a lot of my friends at the time. Were like, oh wow, I didn't know, like, that's cool, it's for a lot of people when they see like Jagmeet Singh as a leader of a party, love him or hate him, it's always like, wow, that's possible.
It's true.
Right?
Yeah,
because the next prime minister debate, win or lose, it is going to be him versus two other dudes.
That's true. Yeah.
And you're like, wow, he has a beard like me. I didn't know that was possible. I didn't look like that.
It's
it
true.
doesn't mean
Yeah.
So it does give hope, and it does make a difference.
One thing I just before I forget, you were saying how like the news covers the incidents in a bad way.
Yes.
One thing actually positive that I mean, maybe it's just because Peel Police just reports the facts. But like one thing I was actually telling my mom yesterday, because I mentioned that thing how they always mention Malton or the street where the street's givable because it's understandable because
No, but Malton's always mentioned, not Mississauga.
But in the police report from Peel Police, they said an event occurred in the city of Mississauga, which I thought that was positive.
Props to the Peel
so
Police.
Props to Peel Police. You guys are rewriting stigma. So
no, and I think one of the so I'm gonna be a little. One of the students I've had at Lincoln when I was a youth worker was I don't get too personal, but how do I say this? She wasn't a achieving student, right? So, but it was great being there with her, helping her through some difficulties, getting like in her personal life and academic life, and getting her off post-secondary education. Now she works with Peel Police.
Oh, wow.
I know. And she's a legit officer in the Malton Division 20. Yeah,
21 or 23 or something. I don't know. Something like that.
21.
21, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Somewhere in the 20s. And she's there and she's helping youth who
awesome.
like her. And like that is what Peel Police needs to continue doing. Recruiting strategic and specific people that can or have been through those lived experiences that could give back to the community that they're from. And that's how you build community relations, right?
Yeah.
Having people from the community, not always parachuting people in, but having people from those communities.
Yeah. And I think that's interesting what you were talking about. Like, for instance, someone like Rick Williams who doesn't live in
I believe he did once upon a time.
You were talking about someone who doesn't live in Don Addison that doesn't live in this community but has a passion for this community. And then you're talking about people who've lived in this community now giving back to this community. And that's the thing about community is it's made up of so many different people of so many different walks of life. Yeah. But it's so crazy how people who don't live here can just find a love for that. And like I realized that even working for government that a lot of people are so passionate. I'm like, oh, you live in Mississauga, right? They're like, no, I live in Milton. I live in like, Hamilton. But they choose to work here, not those cities, because they want to see big things accomplished. They want to see, the underprivileged helped, a lot of stuff like that. So it's hard for me to even want to work anywhere outside of Malton or Sauga.
It's hard because no matter, even if you, in the words of Joyce Temple Smith, who used to be the executive director for Malton Neighbourhood Services. Yeah. She lived there for a bit, but then I believe she's in Brampton now, but Malton will always be like her home, right? Yeah. Same thing with Carol Berry, who started Malton Neighbourhood Services, right? She now lives in Brampton, I believe, but both of them amazing women have given so much to Malton and done so much. Yeah. And always see Malton as like a home to them. Yeah. Right.
And that's what I love when you go to people around all parts of the GTA, even internationally. Like when you mention Malton, it's like the way you mobilize for your favorite sports team is like the same way people mobilize around Malton. Oh, you're from Malton. Oh, you worked in Malton. I used to go to school in Malton. I used to work in Malton. Like the cool thing is when I was the youth worker at the community center, like I would see my youth at Walmart, or I'd see them at Woodbine Mall, or see them around this area. And it's cool because it's a smaller area. It's more concentrated. But we're tight-knit. We do a lot of things, the same events. You see the same people. And that's why some of the events that we were on try to tie people together, because there's so much diversity, not just in culture, but in, educational background and vocation and talent and all this kind of stuff. And like you said, a lot of times, like even in the news, you'll see a death happen, this happened. Instead of like, well, this group started this, or they're doing this, and I just want people to know more about the positivity that's happened here. And
well, there's a lot. There's tons, and I mean, I understand why the media does focus on negative
drama
sells
sells.
paper. Yeah, 100%. The more you can sensationalize something, the easier it is for people to, digest. But the facts are great things happen here.
True.
And it needs to be highlighted too. Right?
Yeah. So why run for English school, public school trustee for Ward 5? What was that in you that decided that you wanted to go all in with that?
Well, I've always been an advocate for youth in Malton and giving back to my community and families, and community development was key. Like my entire theme of my career so far has been community development, right? Whether it was the newspaper I started or working with youth or actually community development with the city of Mississauga. It's always been about developing community capacity. And then our current trustee, who's apparently retiring after many years, he put the bug in my head. He was like, Ryan, consider it. I think you really should run. You'd be a great trustee. And at that time, I'm like, okay, I know what a trustee is, but what does that mean? Right?
Yeah.
So then I started doing some research, and by that I mean I attended committee meetings, board meetings, really got involved with the board a lot more to understand how their decision making happens, what exactly a trustee can do. I mean, you want to change the world, but what can you do? What does that mean, right? And after I did a lot of that, I started realizing, hey, I want to make sure we get more resources in our schools here, right? We could apply for more grant funding, like the urban funding that we had at Lincoln's running out.
Yeah.
And those are things like there are some, like schools around Mississauga have a PA system, like it's a video production.
Wow.
TV production.
Yeah.
Right? Like we don't even have to go far. Ascension has that.
Wow.
That's their morning announcements, right? And it's like resources don't exist in places that need to, right? So I want to really balance that.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to make sure that our graduation rates at Lincoln and our other schools in I don't think there's another high school technically in Ward 5, but I want to make sure that our graduation rates don't go lower than they need to improve. Right?
Yeah.
Tests, people are being streamed right out of in high school, they're being streamed right out of going to university or college. So if you don't take applied or academic courses right up the front, right off the bat, then you're basically, there's no path for you to get into something else, right?
Yeah.
And that was only put in place in my KRC years, the streaming. So we need to revisit that. There are things I really want to do like that to make sure that we have every single opportunity available for academic success.
True. So, obviously Rick Williams, a well-known name, 20 plus years you said in there. So what was going through your head when he said that to you, in the sense that that's a huge responsibility, right? And I mean, of course that adds to your credibility because he's endorsed you to do that, right? But now looking at all the stuff that you have to do, what was going through your head?
It was I want to say overwhelming. I think at the time we were just about to go to Cuba for a vacation, right? And I think that it was the best timing to even ask me because I was able to clear my head and really think about things. And then I decided there after, because and that was the last vacation I've had, and that was 2 years ago.
Oh wow, busy guy.
And ever since then, I came back determined and really you know what, he's serious. I want to think about it. Really, you don't get an opportunity like this often. And I was willing to say, you know what, this is not for me. But after I did the research and I saw exactly what the role entails, I'm like, this is literally the next step of community development, right?
It's the culmination of what you've been doing.
Right? This is exactly what I need to be doing, you know? And then, what solidified that when I saw after the nomination period was over and I saw who signed up. And I was like, okay, is there anybody here who I feel honestly that would do a better job than me? And that sounds so I'm full of myself.
You have to look at
But it was if there was, I would definitely be okay, listen, this person is the best person for the job. But having seen who's in the race and knowing that I've been around for so long, I've done so much already. And I don't see another a candidate out there that I would personally support.
Yeah. And when you've had someone who's been in a position for so long, you have to think like, okay, well, who's the next person that's going to carry on the torch? I mean, like with, Hurricane Hazel and when she was the mayor for so long, and then, Bonnie came in, like, I'm sure in people's mind, they're thinking, all right, the next mayor is probably it potentially could carry on that trend of being a mayor for a long time. So there's a lot of things to consider, like, okay, like who's going to be, probably people are going to be like, who's closest to this person, or do they have similar styles, or what new things are they going to bring to update stuff, right? So I guess even in that, the fact that you had that person who was in that role for a long time, giving you that vote of confidence, it means a lot, right? So,
I mean, at the end of the day, you think about it, like who best to help represent us?
Yeah.
And somebody who's actually not just worked with the system, but been through the system.
And lived in it, yeah.
Yeah, so I have those lived experience of being through the Peel Board education, not just working with the schools and with the Peel Board as a youth worker, where we did after school programs at Morning Star and Lincoln and Dunrain. We did a lot of stuff, and we worked with the board, and we saw firsthand like the red tape and how things work, and things that were possible were not possible. But more than just working in the board or with the board, I think it's important to be going through the system.
Yeah, because firsthand.
Right. And none of the other candidates have that. And that's what I was really hoping. Because you want somebody representing you who would be the best for your kid, right? Now that in February, I have a kid coming.
Yes, yes.
I don't know how that happened. I know how that
Are you
happened.
ready for fatherhood?
Yeah. It's there. It's on my list of things to be okay with. Yeah, so you really want, the best for your kid, and things change when you have kids.
So a lot of people don't actually know that Ward 5 includes Britannia and Malton. When ridings have been defined over years, some communities become their own. Like I know Malton became Mississauga, Malton, and I think provincial or federal, one of them.
Okay, well, the name is Mississauga Malton, but the actual boundaries for Mississauga Malton is not. It's Malton, but it includes it goes far beyond Britannia or Heartland Town Center. It goes all the way down to Credit View.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a huge riding. Yeah. So it's like how they said Mississauga Streetsville. It includes more than just Streetsville, though.
Oh, okay.
I think Meadowville is part of that.
Oh, okay.
And then so I mean the name's a little misleading.
Yeah.
But I've always been, like you were about to say, it's very different, Britannia and Malton, and they're two very separate communities with the same different needs. But I think they both have the same goals, and that's what I'm really good at, I think, representing. And I could see the connection in between because I've lived in Malton.
Yeah.
And I understand. So one of the school councils I joined in, actually, is Champlain Trail.
Yeah.
And that's in the other end. That's in the Britannia area. And I've noticed that they have the same goals. Like they want academic success or higher academic for their kids. Right. But the discussion at Champlain Trail, when I was at the school council, I believe a couple of days ago, is a lot different than it is in Malton. Like it would be about, like how do I resources that I can use. The discussion. Okay. So the discussion would be more about, actual techniques and technology and apps and a bunch of different methods that parents can do and use to help their kids achieve higher, right? Yeah. Whereas in like when I'm on the school council at Dunrankin or Ridgewood, the discussions are more about these are some hindrances that keep affecting us from helping our kids, right? And we need
kids that don't have lunch or stuff like that. Yeah,
exactly. Or breakfast programs, or hectic kiss and rides.
Yeah.
And those because that starts off the day, and it's like it's And then I would put that side to side the conversations I'm hearing at Champlain Trail. Like the biggest concern was lineups, and at the school, there's some kids who are not emotionally developed or mature to understand how lines work. So they're trying to encompass and be inclusive of everybody in a very different way than I see happening at the other end, because it's more, you know what I'm trying to say, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So now that you're entering into the election coming soon on the 22nd. Make sure you guys go vote.
Make sure you vote.
Yeah.
You have to vote.
Your platform is based off of three main things: safer schools, higher academic success, and a better use of tax money. So if elected, how can you accomplish those things once you're in that role?
So that's like my vision. Like those are my value, my broader goals. That's where I want to end up, right? A mission statement if I had to vote there. So I mean, and it looks different in each side of the ward. So safer schools in the Malton area, that means looking at like having some frontline workers that do mental health work, or having social workers more than, I believe, Lincoln has just one.
For what?
A social worker.
Yeah, I think they have like one social worker. They have like the M&S workers in the schools and stuff.
But that's additional. But that's different, right? And they're not allowed to do the same work that social workers do.
It's true, yeah.
But you need more frontline workers, like mental health workers, child and youth workers, you know, in the schools to help with the violence and making it safer. Yeah. Whereas making schools safer in the other end of the ward, in the Britannia area, it's more about making sure that everybody has equal opportunity. Yeah. And there's some equity involved. Yeah. And accommodating those who need that extra help. Like there's, I don't want to say a higher need, a special need, but there is,
there could be more concentration in certain.
There is. I think that's I'm seeing that in the Britannia area.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Oh, and it's also because I believe some of the parents there have, I guess, a more experience in advocating for what they need.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I've noticed, even being a student and even working as a youth worker in this area, is a lot of parents in Malton, they don't know. I mean, for a number of reasons, a lot of new immigrants aren't familiar with the system here, and it's a high concentration of immigrants, and just generally, a lot of people will get frustrated, but they don't know how to effectively advocate. And for those parents, I guess, in that role, you have the opportunity to be like, well, I guess part of a trustee is informing the communities and the schools, like what's happening in the school board, like what are the policies like this is what we're working towards, and here are your concerns, and we'll bring them back, right?
So that's what a trustee does. And a lot of people think it's that person who solves everything. The trustee role is to help make the board policies and the decisions that the board make more accessible to the people who use the school system. Right? Yeah. And it's about hearing the voices of the people in their community and making sure that's also represented when the board's making those decisions. Yeah. But like, for example, I have spoken to parents who want the bus rides, for example, for the kids because they feel it's too far. Yeah. And whether it is or isn't, they're still trying to advocate for themselves and to make a case and da-da-da. But when the decisions were made at the board, I'm not sure how well like communities were represented in those decisions, right? True. Yeah. So one of the things I am going to be looking at, and I'm not going to promise anything, but I am looking at is to review, like, because right now I believe over, I think grade 5 or 6, it's like 2 kilometers or 3 kilometers in high school or something like that is a walking distance. If you're more than that, then you get a bus ride. Yeah. So like reviewing that and seeing if that's like practical in our community here, especially like when you only have one school for an entire community that's French immersion. Yeah, right? That's
true. Yeah. So a common thread on this show is the discussion of how our current education system often sets up students not just for current failure, but for future failure. And so, such as the lack of experiential learning, or even just like basic things like teaching kids financial literacy, right? And how certain students are intelligent, but they're not able to communicate that intelligence through a multiple choice test or through certain types of standardized tests, right? So how can we work towards a system that caters to the students' needs and not just rely on an outdated curriculum?
So the curriculum itself, as it is, it's always been set, the standards have been set by the provincial government. And one of the changes that happened recently, when I say recent, I mean the past month, maybe just very recent, would have been the Ministry of Education's mandate or letter to the teachers on returning to fundamentals of math. So they're not doing skills that would help them so much with the problem solving, but the curriculum right now for math specifically, because they identified math as one of the biggest issues that we do have.
Yeah.
So the skills would be return to the mathematical fundamentals, basics, like learning how to, like memorizing timetables again, learning about like actual like coins and money and like how to use that. I mean, so those are good to get those skills, fundamental, right?
Yeah.
Those skills, but a lot of life decision is problem solving.
Yeah.
Right. So I find that that's, and this is, I don't know how to solve this issue because this is a provincial sort of mandate. There's nothing a trustee itself can do. I mean, as a board, you can advocate. You can write letters to the ministry.
Yeah.
Like, I totally support the board's decision. They wrote a letter to advocate to get rid of the EQAO. Right?
Wow.
Because the EQAO is not helping anyone. The teachers spend the entire year or whatever, however long, teaching how to pass the test. Right? As opposed to, and the test is, like you said, written. It's very
standardized,
right? Yeah. So you're wasting all that time learning how to pass the test and not learning how to learn the curriculum and the material in different ways.
So true,
right?
So
true. That's what you spend grade 3, grade 6, grade 9 on. And the literacy test in grade 10. But that's a different story altogether. But the EQAO. The board wants to get rid of it and have a different way of, because the test is supposed to be to measure across the board where we're at to get a gauge, right? So there's like random sampling, there's individual testing, like thinking about, hey, not everything's a written essay or a math problem. Maybe it's in the form of a project, and that could be used as a way of measuring, you know, like.
Well, I can say that I'm a living example of the effects of those kind of testing, because when I got to university, I've been taught, like, and what I can say about my experience at university is, like, if you ask me like to summarize that book, I can't tell you to summarize that book. All I've learned is how to study for a test in the shortest amount of time and get what they want to be on that test. Like our prof will be like, well, make sure you review chapter 3. And it's like, yeah, but I don't actually like know chapter 3. I don't live out chapter 3. I'm not experienced chapter 3. I'm just putting on a paper what I remember. And it's like memory retention. And it's like learning is so much more beyond memory retention. It's like, you know, do I agree with this or not? Do I feel like it's practical? Like we're looking at, you know, Durkheim and all these historical people, but those theories have been disproven, right? So it's like, I want to see education get to a place where it's more like relevant to what people are going through, but it's also like taking into considerations not just these big people, but one of the reasons why I like this show is there's people who are the everyday average Joe who are doing great things, right? And well, what about this person and their lived experience, right? Because when you go to people for big life advice, you're not going to a textbook. You're going to your mom. You're going to your aunt. You're going to your teacher, your youth worker, right? So those are relevant experiences that I feel like if we add those more into the education system, kids will get a more holistic understanding of how to be better prepared for life, right?
It's true. And I think you're right about having financial literacy skills. Yeah. Those are important, and those aren't happening right now. One thing, though, life skills that I really want to see that I would advocate for, and I may come with a price tag, but I mean, is having everybody who graduates high school to have first aid training. And I think that's
so true.
I think that's one important to save lives. So everybody knows those basics of CPR first aid, but also it helps you like, okay, now I want to get a job at camp or somewhere else, and I have those life skills that are requirements for other things, right?
Because it's a hiring barrier. A lot of kids can't, you can apply and get the job, but then they'll not go through the process of going through the HR system and getting the job because they can't afford to pay for first aid, right?
First aid, it could get pricey, and that is and like you said, that would be a barrier in the potential Malton area. And the other side, Britannia, it would be like, oh, it's just it would be first aid would help them with the opportunity and learning to has that an extra set of skills that they can apply to life. It would be like but so there's that. There's also I don't know if you know this, but assist training, which is a suicide prevention training. Our guidance counselors don't even have that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's something I definitely want to.
Necessary.
Well, I mean, guidance counselors, I mean, the role, I think, is more academic based.
Yes, but I mean, like that, those stuff happen in schools all the time, right?
Well, I mean, and that's why if we can't get like those frontline mental health workers and stuff like that, we need to have people who are trained with assist training so they could recognize symptoms. So I was at the mayor's community safety summit that happened a couple weeks ago now. And one of the key things, there's three main calls that the Peel Police have been experiencing, and they spend most of their hours on the phone and police hours doing addressing them. It's domestic violence by a long shot, like 60,000 hours or something like that. I can't remember the second one, but the third case in Peel is suicide.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. It's not gang violence. It's not gun violence. It isn't like that's not to say like what police are spending their time on. It is on suicide.
That's crazy.
And mental health is a huge gap that Peel has, I want to say, starting to move towards that, but it needs to be addressed. Like, we can't keep waiting. Yeah. We need to have immediate action right away and effective.
Wow. I mean, there's a lot, and I'm glad that you've brought that up in the show, and you have the ability to address those things. But as a former youth worker, considering all that you've accomplished, like, working for nonprofits, working for governments, getting onto some big committees and boards, for that youth that wants to follow that same pathway as you, or just go from like bigger to bigger to bigger, like what advice would you give to them?
It's not bigger. I don't see it as bigger to bigger. I see it as it's the next step, or not even next step. It's like the next logical thing to do to further advance what you want to get done. Yeah. Right? And for what I want to get done is to make sure that my community, my place I live, is a better place to live. That's essentially it, right? And whatever I do next is always like, hey, does it? Because you can do what I used to do, and I think you used to do the same thing, is say yes to everything, get involved with every single thing, because that's one of the mistakes that happens. I know it sounds like a bad thing to say, that don't get involved in everything. No, you have to be selfish. You have to be specific. You have to be
balanced.
Yeah, you have to be you have to have a goal. Yeah. And there's a lot of things I could have been a part of, but you have to learn to say no to things.
It's a principle.
It is. And that doesn't mean because you're not part of it that's a horrible thing, or because there's tons of people you could refer to organizations to help out that might be a better fit. Like I sat on the health board for the community health center board of directors for a year or so, but I had to leave because I realized I really wanted to focus on education. I really wanted to get that right. I loved my time on the board of Four Corners.
Four Corners for sure.
So I loved my time there, and it was a really great board, great dynamics. Committees were getting up and running. Mayo is amazing. She has that place running like clockwork. That's awesome. I learned a lot of advocacy from, actually. Like, she advocated hard for Malton to get to for Four Corners. The community health center here in Malton. She's the original site is Bramley Community Health Center. So they advocated hard to get the shovels in the ground to build a place. So now they finally have a place at Westwood Mall.
Mall, that's awesome.
Westwood Square.
Westwood Square.
A big shout out to Jeff at Westwood Square.
Well, I like amazing. That because I think that was something that the city put out to the public, is reimagining mall spaces, and not just as places of business, but like I even seen at Woodbine Mall, they had like a little bit like a youth space for like video games and stuff like that. Like, if people are congregating there, we can offer services. And I think that's so cool that they're in there. And
that's a very good. I think we need to start looking at spaces like that too, right? And not just there, but in our schools. Because our schools are hubs, and having those places like I think after school programs. And like, for example, the old Lincoln Pool, turning that into a youth center.
That's awesome.
All right, a youth hub where we'll have space where you could be creative. They could, they'll get the help that if they need help, or the assistance and mentorship, and just a place they can chill. Right? Because we don't have that. And I don't know when you were growing up, what would you do after school? I grew up
in true. My mom didn't let me go to MCC. She's like, you got to come home right away.
Well, because so I grew up when Mike Harris was the premier. And that was, I think, before your time. It was the common sense revolution.
I heard about it. Like I learned about it in school. Yeah.
So with that came work to rule strikes.
Yep.
Teachers, they came no after school programs. So after you were done school, there wasn't any help. There wasn't any assistance or anything. You went home or you like hang out in catwalks or you know,
that's true.
like behind the mall.
Yeah.
And that's where you spent your time.
Yeah.
I was a video game person, so I was home, unfortunately.
But it's true though. Like as youth workers, we know that the hours of 3 to 6 is some of the times when the kids get most in trouble with the
100%.
law and stuff like that, right? So it's and that's why it's good to provide them a space just to, you know, they have all this energy that they've been, you know, in school, they sitting down being taught at, you know, sometimes and beyond gym class, they need something after school just to let loose and just have fun and be themselves, to socialize 100%. And develop their personality, right?
And that's why you finally got off the ground. What I was trying to do when I was at M&S was the impact, having the chill zone, a place where I mean that has so much potential to move to the next level, and you know, so I'm really happy that happened, and I want to see more of that stuff like in our schools and stuff like that.
Definitely. All right, so just before we go into rapid fire, something I always like to ask on this show is if you could go back in time, if you could hop in a DeLorean and go back to the first day of grade 9, just about to enter high school, what would you tell grade 9 Ryan if you could warn him or give him a word of advice?
Oh geez. There's so many.
Stop playing video games. No,
no. I think that really helped because there was a point in time that led me to broadcasting, wanting to get involved with. And then I realized that I hated that after I volunteered to Rogers TV. I mean, it was a great experience, but I just realized I didn't like it. So no, I wouldn't change it. I would say, I think the financial literacy piece is key. Yeah, I would say own property. I would say learn about loans. I would say learn about how the finance works. It's such a huge advantage in life. Money is always good to have. It shouldn't be your goal. Yeah, I don't think it ever was. I wanted to be an actor. I started the Lincoln's first drama club. And then I think it's still up and running. They're doing amazing work, actually. I'm so happy every time I see them. So money wasn't my goal, but I would make sure to know about it, to know how it works, how it functions, because you live in a capitalistic society. And to one thing I would make sure that my younger self would know is to understand privilege. And to understand what it means to be male, understand the privilege you have as a cisgendered male, actually. And I would encourage myself to be more of an advocate for those who I didn't advocate for when I was in high school. Those who were struggling with their sexuality, those who were orientation, those who were struggling with racial barriers, and like I didn't advocate as much as I wanted to, but I always grew up like my mom had this saying, like, you don't trouble. If you see something and it's bad, don't get involved. And that's such, I hate to say it, horrible advice. I would tell myself that don't listen to your mom on that one thing, to advocate, to fight for, because use the privilege that you have for better, right? I am male and I'm able to, there are doors open for me that are not open for like my sister, or open for like, you know, a lot of women or women of color, or people who are not able-bodied. So use that privilege to make sure things get done for them. I think equity is huge because it just doesn't help them, it helps you as well. It's true. It helps our community, and you're only as good as a community as like the how do I say this?
You're only as good. It's like a united community. No, it's so true, and I mean, I waited till university to that's the one good thing I say about universities. You become more woke in the sense that you look at you're not with all of your friends, so like you don't have that culture of like, oh, you need, like, if you do, like, you have your opportunity to become unique, and also you just get a chance to understand that the world isn't as you thought it was when you were a bit younger. You mature more, you see different sides of the argument. You learn to argue for something that you may not support in your personal life, but that's part of your assignment, right? And that's one good thing I think you should do, is be able to have arguments for both sides of an argument, right?
It does. It helps you grow.
Right? Yeah.
It helps you understand things, and it helps you evolve in your decision making process. Right?
Definitely. Yeah. So we're about to enter into rapid fire. So the first thing that comes to your head, I'm gonna be like this, that, or whatever. Are you ready for this?
Should I be nervous?
No, nothing controversial.
I could be nervous.
Pepsi or Coke?
Neither.
Advil or Tylenol?
Oh, Advil.
Apple or Android?
Definitely Android.
Toronto or Saga?
Oh, that's not even a question. What's Toronto? No, I'm not hating on Toronto, but
yeah. Chutney or Soka?
Definitely Soka.
Masha,
no, I mean I love chutney too. But
okay.
Soka's like, what's that right now?
Masha Montano or Ki?
Oh, definitely Marshall. I was thinking of naming my kid Marshall. So two names. I don't know yet.
What song, when played, makes you ton up uncontrollably?
I want to say Coolie Boy, but I don't know. I feel a little racist saying that.
Favorite place you've traveled, local or international?
Oh, geez. Do you want the place name or?
Yeah, wherever you've been that you would go again.
You know what? I want to say Mississauga.
Okay.
Because it's such a stepping out of your bubble. You go to like Port Credit.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh my god,
yeah,
this exists. The waterfront's amazing.
Yeah.
The lake council, they did amazing work.
Yeah.
And I think just doing the trails there, it's amazing.
Yeah. Favorite book you read or are reading?
Oh my. So I'm an English major at York. It was one of the things I did, and I'm despised reading. It was just I felt bad. But because it was so dry and so dense. But then when you read literature, it was totally different. I don't have a favorite book. Maybe Running Water, Green Grass.
Okay.
I think by Thomas King.
Okay.
Totally messed it up. I think it was one of my favorite books.
Favorite song that you're listening to right now?
I don't have a favorite song. Anything by DJ Private Ryan.
All right. Okay. Who is one person that everyone should go right now and follow on Instagram or check them out? If you can give a recommendation.
I would say my competitors. No.
I was gonna be like...
No, definitely me. Check me out. Trustee Ryan. So that's my website is trusteeryan.ca. My handles on Instagram, social, Facebook, and in Twitter is Trustee Ryan. TRUSTEE.
Yep.
RYAN.
And we'll drop that in the description.
Like right here.
Yeah, right. We're gonna put it right beside the left side of right there. Favorite Saturday morning cartoon when you were young?
Oh, I used to love. There's so many. I want to say Captain Planet was one of them. I love the original Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
As racist as it can be. There's so many I can't remember off the top of my head now.
That's cool.
It's like racing.
Yeah. Real Malton question: Caribbean Star or Mr. Jerk?
Oh, okay. So I'm gonna spell it right now, and unequivocally, I'm not gonna say those places are bad.
Yeah.
But Lickin' Chicken on Airport Road has the best jerk chicken.
Really?
Oh my god, he has a smoker and everything in there.
Okay.
The wooden thing.
Yeah.
It is not baked chicken with jerk seasoning like you would get somewhere else. Not mentioning those.
Yeah.
But so Airport Road, right by the Tim Hortons, and there is the Quiznos, and then right beside the Quiznos is Lickin' Chicken.
Yeah.
And the guy who owns it lives right in Malton. He's been here for a long time.
Yeah.
He's from Guyana, but the jerk is better than when I went to Jamaica.
Wow.
It was better than that.
Wow. Okay, I got to try that.
Yeah, and ask for the special hot sauce because he has the regular hot sauce. He goes to, those folks. But you're West Indian, so you definitely ask for the extra hot sauce.
All right.
And his name is Noel. Tell him Ryan sent you.
All right, I'm gonna get a discount. Yeah. Most influential person on your life. If you could say one person that's been that way on you.
Influential person. Yeah. I'm gonna have to say my wife. That's cheesy.
That's awesome. No,
it's
awesome.
cheesy. She's like one of the hardest person I know, to go through so much stuff.
Yeah. Shout out Chef.
To put her handle right there.
Yeah, I'll put her handle right there. If you could go back to a single point of your life, there was a day that you could revisit, what day would that be?
Why would you? I don't know.
What's one day that you're like, man, that was an awesome day, I want to relive? Rapid.
I know. I don't have a day. I every single day of my life, except for maybe one day I hated. I like maybe 2 days finding out about our miscarriages. Those sucky days.
Yeah,
Other than that, I would relive almost any single day.
Okay. If there was a movie on your life, what would the title read? Malton.
Maybe. No, I'm not just. Maybe. I don't know. That would be the title. I don't know.
Perfect.
I don't know.
And if they couldn't get you to play in your own movie, what celebrity or person would you want to play you? They don't have to.
Oh, easy, Cal Penn.
Yeah,
hands down. Cal
Penn. If you could have coffee or your drink of choice with anyone from any point in history, dead or alive, if you could pick their brain, who would that be?
Bell hooks.
If you could be any animal, what would you be?
I would. Any animal?
Yeah.
Like human? No,
like any animal in the animal world. What animal do you resonate with?
What animals do I resonate? Well, for the ones I spoke with, I would say a dinosaur.
A dinosaur? Okay.
Like one that flies.
What is that? Pterodactyl?
Pterodactyl.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Name a song that when you hear it, it puts you in your feelings. Like you think about that crush in grade 2 and you just get all torn up.
I don't really... I don't get torn up. I'm pretty much a robot.
Wow.
If I had to, I don't know. Old MacDonald.
Old MacDonald? What?
I don't know. I really have no feelings whatsoever.
If you were stranded on an island, what 2 things would you want with you?
Wi-Fi and a phone with a charger with unlimited battery.
What style did you rock that you look back now and wish you never rocked?
Baggy jeans. Still have them.
Favorite food of all time?
I'm gonna say I'm a chow mein person.
Chow mein?
Love chow mein. Guyanese style, not
Guyanese style.
Not the other.
Yeah. What job would you be horrible at if you had to do it?
Oh, I have so much respect for the people who work at Tim Hortons. I cannot get an order right.
Yep.
I forget things. I'd be the worst at that.
Where do you feel most out of place?
Out of place?
Yeah.
I would say in a woman's bathroom.
When you die, what would you want your biggest legacy that you leave behind to be? When people remember Ryan Gurcharn, what would you want them to remember about you?
I think that's the guy that made me vote.
Lastly, what's the title of the current chapter of your life right now? If your life was a book, what kind of sums up where you are right now?
Matthew's podcast.
All right, so you survived rapid fire.
Barely.
Yeah. So this is Guest Corner. I know you shouted out some like your handles and stuff like that. But any kind of last words you want to say to our listeners or our viewers? The mic is yours, sir.
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. So okay, how long do I have? No. October 22nd is the election. You need to vote.
Yeah.
You don't have to vote for me. It'd be really nice if you did. Don't have to vote for me. But vote for your mayor of Mississauga, vote for a councillor, and then you get to vote for a trustee. Those are 3 people that are key that affect your everyday life, right?
True.
Even if you don't have kids, vote for me because I made you laugh. Vote for me because you believe I can bring change. I've lived through the experiences, and I know where the gaps exist, and I know what to advocate for. Vote for me because if elected, I'll be the first Guyanese Canadian at the appeal board. I don't know. I don't care what your reason is.
Yeah.
But it's really important because the school trustee affects, if your garbage is not collected, that's unfortunate, right? But if your kid can't read, that's ooh,
true,
right? And that was one of the quotes that I've heard from the current chair of the appeal board.
Yeah.
And I think she's just bang on that. It's a travesty. That's exactly what it is.
That's
and
so big,
you don't think about it because it's a part-time position. It's an honorarium that the person gets. It's a full-time job. Attending all the committee. If you're doing it right, you're going to the committees. You're attending the schools events, and you're going to board meetings, and you're getting involved, and you're advocating. Like, that's a full-time job, right?
Yeah,
and it's not really seen as something like a counselor seen like a full-time person. And that's more prestige, I guess, to it. But my thing is October 22nd, vote, get involved, understand what the issues are. Go to my website, trusteeryan.ca. You can, if you don't want to go to my website, go to mississaugavotes.ca, and that will list all the people running against me. Choose me and then vote. They have their websites listed, so you can
make
see
sure you get your voter's registration card up to date and all that kind of
stuff.
Right?
I mean, there's a lot of people who, when I'm door knocking, they're like, "Oh, I don't vote," and that really gets at me, and that makes me feel so discouraged. They're just so set on I'm not going to vote, and I'm like, that's horrible. It's just people have this idea that politicians are always there to like sell you something and it's not. Politicians are really about, I don't know what they're about, but I'm not one. As you can tell, I'm really bad at this political thing, and I'm just really here to make sure we have resources in Malton.
Well, you know what? That's the thing. We need a variety of people in politics. And you don't want just like the typical lawyers or business owners who get into politics. You want people who've lived in the community, and that's what I like about you. And to segue into the next section of my show before we end, I like to give my guests a word of encouragement. Not that you guys are fishing for it, but because I know you guys are working hard, and you don't always take the time to slow down to hear stuff that's good about you, right? You're just always about other people.
I have a whole wall of things that's good about
no, but you know what? Beyond your accolades and the positions you've been on, like I think I'm someone who can personally say that I know you at first hand, I've seen what you've done. I don't just see the titles on the wall. I've seen you in action doing those things, and I respect you for that. When I was lazy sitting on the couch in grade 12 and my mom wanted me to get involved, she, set up a meeting with me and you, and the first thing this guy gives me, he's like, "Do you want to be a marketing coordinator for the local festival?" And I'm just like, what? Like the fact that he gave me that opportunity and he knew what I was doing and he gave me that vote of confidence, I think you were instrumental in where I am today. So I give you honor because opportunity leads into bigger things, right? And I don't think that I would have had the, even working in government and, counselors and all these kind of people noticing me, having my master's. Yeah, you're the reason I'm in my master's.
No, it's not. Stop it.
No, but you played a part in it, and I give you honor for that. One thing I always love about you, and even from that point in grade 12 when you were up on that stage, repping Malton, is you've consistently put Malton on the map, and you've put Ward 5 on the map. You've put Saga on the map, and not a lot of people can be, genuine and so passionate about an area, but you live where you're from. Like people know you, and they know your fruits, and they know what you've done. So I give you honor for that too. And it's cool how you've come full circle to serve this community. Like you went to school, you did things here, you worked here, you poured back into the people that poured back into you. I think that's really, really key. And also your ability to appeal to different communities, like we were talking about, like community, the ability to serve communities. It's a universal skill set that you have. Like you can go to Britannia, you can go to a Malton, you can go to, downtown Saga, but you're still able to be you and serve people the same way and cater to their needs. So, I don't know if this means anything, but I personally endorse Ryan. Oh
my God, that's it. I won the election.
You won the election. As someone myself who does a lot for this community as well, if there's anyone that should get this position, it's Ryan, and I think that he will definitely advocate for you. And even in that, what you said, it's okay about your garbage, but your kid's ability to read is a huge thing, and I know that this guy will be able to advocate for that. So I just wanted to sincerely thank you for being on the show today. It's been a privilege and an honor.
And for those of you watching, this is all like a stage. This is a real legit stage. The set is amazing. He built it. It looks fantastic.
It's not in my living room.
It looks like somebody's living room, but it's yeah. Oh, and if you do, I appreciate it if you're out there and you want to get involved. And I need volunteers on election day.
Yeah.
I need a bunch of, if you need a lawn sign, something like that behind me. It would be great. I could use help delivering flyers. I could use help just spreading the word.
Yeah.
Social media, share, post whatever, good stuff about me. No, but I need all the help we can do it, because it's not just about me. It's about the vision that we represent.
Facts.
And getting us, getting our community and our stuff out there, and make sure we're in a position to make decisions that will benefit us. So this is a group effort, and a lot of the students I've helped, like you, and a lot of other folks, are supporting me, and they're behind me, and we're pushing this, and it's about getting the right people in the right positions. Right? And that's what we're fighting for.
So don't be waste. Vote for this guy, October 22nd. We're signing out.
Bye.